person insurance. Today,
it's another day, the sun is shining. Got to know what's going on around you. Wake up, it's the time to motivate your mind. Come with me, let's make this moment brighter. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Come on and wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Hey.
Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise. I'm Anastasia Palacios.
Good morning. Happy Monday to you. I'm Philip Simon.
And thank you so much for joining us today. It is, of course, Monday, May 18th, 2020, as we continue along with COVID-19 protocols having been in place for some time now. I think it's just 2 months or a little over 2 months. Before we go any further, I want to wish a very, very happy belated birthday to my good friend, Mrs. Forbes from St. Matthew's Church. Awesome lady, just a cook and a chef, maker of iced tea and homemade ice creams and the best cupcakes you'll ever find. Ms. Forbes, I hope that God continues to bless you and keep you and that you enjoyed your birthday and, of course, your birthday month.
All right. You sound like a pregnant woman on the screen just now talking about all of those things that you love. Happy
Indeed,
birthday.
indeed. She did spoil me during this time, Phil, I must admit. You know, some people don't want to share their mangoes and pineapples, but there are some people who are just so willing to give to others. And so I just appreciate that, you know?
Yeah, I know. My bad, man. I shouldn't have done that. I got so many text messages with regards to, not teasing a pregnant woman. So I apologize for that, Star. But again, I got you sorted this week, right? I got you sorted.
Indeed. I'm going to hold you to it. So that's why it's all good, Phil. It's all good. Listen, we had another conversation with the Prime Minister yesterday. He addressed the nation talking about some of the changes that were to come into effect over these coming weeks. Any thoughts from you on that, Phil?
Yeah. Let's start there, right? It's becoming painful. I think we all are, doing our best, I think, as Bahamians to see our way through this pandemic. And I guess having so many different islands, being an archipelago, it is quite a management task. It's a management challenge per se. Oh man, I can feel the fatigue. I mean, sorry, there's a lot that I can say about it. We're still in it. I don't think we've officially gone into phase 2, but yet we're looking to have a kind of a full opening by, the first week of July. There's so many other things that need to be done, right? And I think either we're going to just go ahead and do it, or else there's going to be some repercussions. Let me just put it that way.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely, I don't envy him. I don't envy anybody sitting at the head of our government at this time making these calls and decisions. Certainly, we know that the outer islands needed to have some opportunity to begin to engage again. Very happy that you can, of course, do that inter-island travel now if you are on those islands that have opened up commercially. Unclear as to whether or not those persons in Grand Bahama and New Providence who would like to go home and who have been stuck here, I know that he mentioned the COVID card, and I guess we'll get some more details on that this Wednesday, but I'm not sure if we've allowed those islands to exchange. So if somebody from Grand Bahama can come to New Providence or somebody stuck in New Providence from Grand Bahama can go back there. So I'm sure there are a lot more people looking for some clarity on this idea of domestic travel and what encompasses that. Certainly, I know every single Bahamian has been talking more than I've ever heard them talk about getting to the outer islands as quickly as they can, just so, they can take a break from the madness that is staying in one's house 24/7. But, we will continue to see, I guess, some changes happen. And hopefully we are doing it as best we can. That's all I can suggest. A lot of people giving some negative responses to the Economic Recovery Committee, saying that the survey that they sent out seems to be a bit dated and not necessarily something that should be happening at this point, given that we've done development plans, et cetera, in the past. Any thoughts on that?
I haven't seen it, but if it is focused around development plan, we've already got a lot of data going. Of course, everything has changed, right? I mean,
Right.
so it doesn't hurt to react some questions that might have been valid 3 months ago that aren't quite valid anymore. I mean, we've
It's
been
true.
having some discussions within several of my groups that are kind of questioning, well, what's the new outlook, right? I mean, we had a very interesting conversation with Anthony Ferguson last week on Friday that says, well, listen, coming out of COVID, what we would have seen as the norm is obviously going to change. Businesses have figured out how to streamline. Persons that would have been employed or even are on temporary holding positions of being laid off right now may actually be released because businesses have changed their outlook. They've figured out ways to reduce costs. They've moved fully into this whole new wave of digital technology, digital delivery for the most part. So, you know, I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad thing if questions from the past are being asked for the future.
Yeah, very valid point, Phil. Very valid point. And I have to agree with you that, I just know in the last 3 to 2 weeks alone, so many different corporations, both here and abroad, are saying that they're really going to move more into this full-time work from home. They're going to look at reducing hours. They're just trying to find more ways to be efficient. And a lot of that comes with automation. So certainly we're going to see some changes from that regard. But we've got a great show lined up for you. And of course, we get to talk about some of these things more in depth. We've got several phenomenal guests that are going to be breaking some of those things down for us. Who do we have today, Phil?
Yeah, we've got Doctors Hospital back on the show. We're going to be talking about their new pharmacy curbside services. And of course, the good doctor's also back. Pediatric associates will join us to talk about treating children with COVID-19.
Yeah, that I've been, of course, I have a toddler and I'm expecting again. So I've been paying attention to the pediatrics of this, and they've got some interesting things happening with young kids as they think it may be related to COVID. So that's going to be a pretty good conversation as well. Also looking forward to another episode or another space in our series on adventures online. This time we're taking a virtual field trip tour, and so we're going to find out more about that. And then, of course, we always bring Merit Store with us whenever there's something new happening in terms of these Emergency Powers Acts or any law in the Bahamas. Merit always comes and breaks it down for us. He, of course, is with Providence Law. So we're looking forward to that conversation as well. Before we go further, though, I do want to remind you that you can still register for free for the Luther Business Outlook. And that's the webinar happening this Thursday and Friday. All you have to do is register at tclevents.com. That's tclevents.com. Absolutely free. Going to be a great, 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 great outlook. Lots of people lined up to talk about what's happening on the island of Eleuthera and sharing generally on business and life post-COVID-19. So it's really going to be good, and we hope that you'll join us. Before we get to any of that, though, we're going to take a first look at weather with Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at sunrise. Brought to you by Bahamas First. First in insurance. Today, tomorrow.
Thank you, Starn. Good morning, Bahamas. And your first look at the weather at sunrise. Have a weak surface trough across the islands, and that's going to make way for a couple of showers, particularly the northwest and parts of central Bahamas during the daytime. A lovely day across the southeastern islands. And so today, we're looking at a mix of sun and clouds with a few showers, even a possible thunderstorm. Your high temperature reaching 87 degrees Fahrenheit. Tonight, we're looking at partly cloudy skies with a few passing showers. You're going down to 76 degrees Fahrenheit. And some regional highs and lows across the Caribbean. Barbados 84 and 78. In Jamaica 88 and 71. In Trinidad 89 and 76. And the Turks and Caicos Islands 86 and 75. Across North America, Atlanta 82 and 65. In Raleigh 86 and 63. In Miami 83 and 73. Dallas, Texas 83 and 66. And Toronto, Canada 54 and 49. As we go through the next couple of days, you have a weak frontal boundary should move near Grand Bahama tonight into tomorrow morning, and that's going to trigger off with the northwestern parts of Central, some cloudiness and some showers, even possible thunderstorms through Wednesday. High pressure builds across that island. Therefore, a pretty good weekend at the end of the week with a couple of showers possible during the afternoon hours. Temperature daytime will be in the upper 80s to lower 90s at daytime. At nighttime in the upper 70s. That puts her up in your first look at weather at sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Bahamas at sunrise will be back after a short commercial break.
Yep. No. Yep. No. Yep. No. Yep. No. Yep. No. Yep.
Good afternoon. First response. How can I help you?
I've been in an accident on West Bay Street. Can you send someone to help?
Yes, ma'am. A first response team will be there in 15 minutes. Are you hurt?
No, I'm fine, but a bit upset.
We're glad you're not hurt. Please, try to relax. Our team will take care of everything as soon as they arrive.
First Response provides immediate on-site service and support from the scene of an accident through the claims and repair process. And it's free to all Bahamas First insured drivers in New Providence, every day for any type of accident. If you drive and want First Response on your side, call 321st or visit bahamasfirst.com for the name of an authorized Bahamas First agent. First Response can't prevent an accident from happening,
But it can certainly ease your mind when it happens.
Welcome back to the show. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Doctors Hospital has been practicing safety measures and social distancing in order to curb the spread of the virus. Good news is that their pharmacy remains open now, offering curbside service and delivery services as well. Here to discuss this with us this morning are Dr. Ivis Turner, registered pharmacist at Doctors Hospital, and Giselle Williams, results manager. She's going to tell us exactly what that means. Good morning, ladies. Welcome
Good morning.
Sunrise. How are you doing?
Very well.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right. So the pharmacy has remained open throughout this entire process. Is that correct, Dr. Turner?
Yes, it is. We're open and functioning as usual. Well, almost as usual, just a modified process.
Okay. So now we're talking about curbside services. Is this something that is about to happen or has actually been established over the last couple of days?
It's actually been established for some weeks now. We've been using our curbside for especially patients who may be at high risk, but we're encouraging all of our patients to utilize it. Now, there are a few that, are unable to navigate it easily, but we're even working harder to get that process to become more easy for our patients.
All right. And we're talking about the Shirley Street facility, correct?
Yes, this is at the Shirley Street facility.
All right. So the persons who are interested in utilizing the curbside service or the pharmacy, what is the process?
So what happens is it would be in the beginning, it's the same process. So we would have our patients call. Now, per usual, or in the past, patients would call in refills, or they would call to check in on new prescriptions, or they would come in. So what we do is we request an email from the patient or from anyone who utilizes an email. We can send a link. It's a very easy link to navigate. You go on the link, you type in all of your information, so your name, your date of birth, whether you have allergies to any medication or food, things like that. And then after that, you get an email from the pharmacy, and it gives you the opportunity to add on pictures. So you can even take a picture of your previous medication. We can utilize that to give you medication, or you can send a picture of your new prescription. Now, this website also allows physicians the opportunity to log on, and they can even put in new prescription requests.
Yeah. And how do people pay for it once they've gone through this process?
So once the prescription has been received or the information has been received by the pharmacy, we would then process it. And then from then there's an electronic transfer of the information over to our cashiers and registration department. They would then communicate either by email or telephone to give the patients the link. That's another easy link to navigate. I've used it myself in filling prescriptions. So what you would do, you would type in your visit number, which is a number that would be given to you in detail. You can even copy it and paste it there. You would type in your name, and the total amount either after any deduction, which would be from insurance or discount, but this amount would be given by the cashier or registration department that communicates. And after that, you get an email that says payment received.
Then you can just come
for your,
and just come pick it up.
Just come pick it up. But what we try to do is, as soon as this happens, we try to, as soon as the payment is received, the cashier communicates electronically with us, and then we can call the patient or email them to let them know it's completed.
All right. Is there also delivery as a part of this process?
Now, this is, yes, our delivery service has actually been launched last week.
Okay.
So it's been about 7 days in the working. So we're trying to inform everybody about that so that they can even utilize that service, which is free of charge right now. So it's an excellent service to use.
Okay. Well, listen, anything free is always. Ms. Williams, your title is Results Manager. Speak to that.
Sure. So essentially, I'm in charge of the management and execution of projects across the hospital. So that would include some of the examples the Dr. Turner talked about. So I worked really closely with the pharmacy department to launch their curbside and also now delivery service. And then a couple other digital initiatives that we've been working on in the past couple of weeks.
I know we've had some doctors who would come on and spoke about this digitization process of allowing doctors to see patients remotely. I imagine this is some of the things that you've been involved with.
Absolutely. So even before the government began to discourage in-person consultations and visits, we recognized that we have a lot of persons, as Dr. Turner would have mentioned, who are high risk. We wanted to provide continuity of care while also ensuring the best safety for them. So we would have launched our telehealth service in early March. And so what that essentially involves is persons who maybe would have come in for their follow-ups, whether it's a post-ER follow-up, a visit with our primary care and NHI physicians, or other types of visits with the specialists. We're able to schedule that online and actually use, just like how we're using Zoom now, be able to use a digital secure platform to communicate with the physician.
Have you found this to be well received and effective both for the physician as well as the patient?
Definitely. So in the beginning, what we made sure to do was make sure the persons were comfortable with it. So for instance, with some physicians, we would have made sure we walked them through the process, connect them directly with the patient. And the same thing for the patient, because as Dr. Turner would have mentioned, not everyone is so comfortable and able to be using these types of platforms. However, what a lot of people like is that they don't have to leave their house. They still feel that continuity of care. And then also even that coupled with the pharmacy curbside, if their physician needs to prescribe something, it can be prescribed remotely. They can do curbside pickup instead of having to come into the hospital. And now they can get delivery to their home for free.
Okay. Dr. Turner, what do you see has been the greatest challenge over the last, today's the 18th. I think we've been in this since 17th of March, but what do you think has been the greatest challenge for healthcare providers as it relates to delivery of service, whether it's pharmacies, whether it's medicines, whether it's just healthcare in general?
I think the greatest challenge for pharmacy specifically would have been trying to ensure that our patients feel comfortable and they feel welcomed. Because sometimes if you don't have that in-person communication, there's a loss of that personal connection with your patient and that trust. But like Shazal would have mentioned, with this more virtual communication and continuous virtual communication, there's increased and improvement in our patients' trustworthiness. Well, our patients' trust for us in our delivery of this service. Yeah, so a lot of patients, they would have, there was a fear that they wouldn't have been able to get their medications on time. There was a fear that, a lot of patients would have voiced, I don't want to come in the hospital. I'm very afraid. Patients thought as soon as they walk in the door, boom, there's a possibility of contracting the disease, which is true. But we've improved that, and we have a lot of patients that actually appreciate what we're doing now, especially the elderly patients.
Mm-hmm. Shazelle, final question: Do you see a continuation of this type of approach? I mean, obviously, the results, I don't know, hopefully have been good in terms of whether it's the digitization, whether it's the telehealth, virtual visits as well. Do you see an ongoing demand, hopefully, once we get over this bridge related to the pandemic?
I mean, definitely, I think we're going to hit a new normal. Certainly, at Doctors Hospital, we've been no stranger to using digital solutions. We've been using the EHR for over a decade. But certainly now we're shifting to a new normal where people are going to want these services some more. So we're already working on a patient app that's going to be coming out in the coming weeks. That's going to enable all the services we talked about. So the telehealth visits, the remote requests for prescriptions, but also certain services like requesting an ambulance and being able to transmit your location directly. We already have a payment portal, being able to pay through the app. And then even in addition to all those things, being able to access your medical record using your phone or online. So we're certainly, we're transitioning all these things permanent, and we certainly expect that for a lot of organizations, they're definitely going to have to do that as well as we approach the new normal that's going to be even during and after the COVID pandemic.
No doubt about it. Listen, ladies, thank you so much for joining us here on
Thank you.
We've been with Dr. Ivis Turner, registered pharmacist at Doctors Hospital, and the results manager at Doctors Hospital, Chazelle Williams. Ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, you're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Do you want to know more about the scriptures, the early Christian church, its teachings, suffering, other religions, the authenticity of the Bible? The Anglican Theological Institute is for you. Enroll in a 3-year certificate program. Classes are conducted from NASA and Freeport on Saturday mornings. Don't miss a class. Stay connected anytime, anywhere, with high-speed internet. Contact us at 603-2481. Visit our Facebook page. Pick up an application form at any Anglican church or at Addington House on Sands Road. The Anglican Theological Institute is for you.
He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Sun Oil, caring, invested, committed.
To help our friends in need. You can count on me, 'cause I can count on you.
Nourish your immune system. Nourish your health. Nourish your life with Ensure. Ensure Original, Ensure Plus, and Ensure Max Protein.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. Thank you so much for staying with us. Well, we're going to have a very important conversation now about what we're seeing happening with COVID-19 and children. Initial reports seem to indicate that these kids would pretty much be spared from this virus, but that's not exactly what we've been seeing in the media recently. Here to talk with us more about it, we're very happy to welcome two very special doctors. Dr. Carlos Thomas, he's a pediatrician with Pediatrics Associates, and Dr. Tamara Moss, who's also a pediatrician with Pediatric Associates. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise, doctors.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Good morning.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you with us, Dr. Thomas. Before I go any further, Ms. Aubrey, our executive producer, has reminded me, of course, to give you all of our congratulations on your son's graduation from Rollins. Of course, that should have happened this past weekend, but with COVID-19, we understand that there had to be some changes. So congratulations to you and the family.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Yes. Well, I do want to jump right into this conversation. Of course, as a mom of soon-to-be two babies, very concerned about how COVID-19 is impacting our little ones. Initially, it was thought that children were protected from the infection, but what are the facts showing now?
Well, earlier in the year, it was true that children were thought to be protected, but this didn't necessarily mean that they weren't susceptible to infection. When we look at the data, it's shown that children are just as susceptible as being infected as adults. But what they've found was that after infection, the symptoms that children display seem to be milder than those symptoms displayed in adults.
Okay, and how do those symptoms differ in children than they do in adults?
Dr. Thomas, do you want to take this one?
Yes, I will. The symptoms are quite similar and can be quite varied. And the symptoms include fever, headache, cough, maybe vomiting, diarrhea, muscle aches, quite varied and very similar to many of the viral illnesses you see.
Now, in terms of, I guess, one of the other concerns having been early on, I remember very well, pregnant women and their susceptibility to it, given that their immune systems are a bit more compromised at this time. And then there was, of course, the concern that newborns might be affected through breastfeeding if the mother was found to be COVID positive. Has there been any updates on whether or not that is true, or whether or not those concerns still persist for newborns and moms?
The good news is that there's been no reported cases of newborns who are infected transplacentally. The infants around the world who've been infected by moms who are positive are thought to be affected after delivery due to improper handling of their hand, improper hand washing, for example, and improper feeding practices. But the good news is that for now, we believe the uterus protects the infant during pregnancy.
So one of my biggest concerns as I've been following this with kids has been this recent development, and we saw it first in Europe, and now they're reporting cases in the United States as well, is this serious sort of inflammatory syndromes that mimics Kawasaki disease. What is Kawasaki disease itself, and how is the inflammatory syndrome similar to Kawasaki? Of course, those conspiracy theorists are saying it's not similar. It is, in fact, Kawasaki. So how are you all as pediatricians distinguishing that this is a similar thing, but not the same thing?
Fortunately, we haven't had any reported cases of systemic inflammatory disease in children in the Bahamas. Of course, as you alluded to, there have been cases, many in the United States and Europe, and the signs and symptoms are similar. There's severe fever, usually for more than 3 days. There's a rash all over, swollen lymph glands. You can have low blood pressure. The heart may be affected, and it's quite concerning. Some of these patients respond well to intravenous steroids and immunoglobulins, but others do not. And most of them require, of course, intensive care admission.
Wow. Anything that you wanted to add to that, Dr. Moss?
So, Kawasaki disease really has been around for a very long time. According to the World Health Organization, the first case was probably described about 70 years ago. So what the symptoms now with Kawasaki compared to this pediatric inflammatory, multi-system inflammatory condition tend to be the same. The only difference that they're finding is that there's some evidence of COVID-19 infection in these children. So whether or not it is the cause for the inflammation is unclear, but really the symptoms, and as Dr. Thomas alluded to, the management really remains the same as Kawasaki disease. But of course, we want to be aware of this risk just so that we can have the best possible chance of treating, identifying these patients and giving them appropriate treatment in a timely fashion.
Let's talk about the treatment then, because it sounds pretty serious, and the pictures that I've seen as I've scrolled across these articles, they look pretty intense. And as parents, of course, we hate to see our children in pain. So what are some of the ways that we can actually treat the prognosis if it does come to that right here at home?
Well, these patients would have to be hospitalized in an intensive care unit. They have to be monitored very closely because low blood pressure is one of the signs that you'll sometimes see. And it's very important to maintain adequate blood pressure to make sure all the organs are perfused. The good news is that most of the children seem to get better in intensive care. The other good news that we haven't seen any cases so far. And I might add that throughout the world, children are not infected as often as adults, as Dr. Moss said earlier. In fact, in Spain, they report 0.8% of their total cases being children. We have about 3 cases reported so far in the Bahamas among our 96 patients, so that's about 3%, which is similar to many other countries around the world. So we want to get the message out that this is an important disease in the sense that the impact is severe, but also to point out that we can do some things to mitigate against infection. So we want to talk about the importance of hand washing. That's vital and important. And parents need to teach their children how to wash their hands properly with soap and water, ideally, or with hand sanitizers with 70% alcohol. Social distancing is very important. We have to pay attention to that. And the last thing I would say is the importance of boosting your immune system. And so we need to make sure children are rested adequately, that they're eating healthy, lots of fruits and vegetables. We even encourage vitamin supplements. And these things go a very long way in protecting you in the event you're infected. And once again, most children have mild symptoms.
Excellent. Thank you for that reminder, Dr. Thomas. And certainly my daughter has a song about washing our hands now. So I know as parents have been trying as best we can to get them on board, both with social distancing and proper hygiene. The final question that I have for you, and of course I had so much more, but time is always running out on us. And so Dr. Moss, I'll turn this over to you. Is it still safe to bring our little ones into the pediatrician during this time?
Absolutely. So, children are unique as far as the patient population, and that they require frequent well visits to monitor their growth, development, achievement of milestones, and of course to administer vaccinations against other diseases. So we don't want children to miss out on those important health visits because of a possible risk of COVID. And to answer your question directly, yes, it is safe. All pediatric offices have made changes to the way we facilitate our patients in terms of, staggering appointment times and making sure the waiting area is clear, having patients come right into the examination rooms just to minimize contact with other patients. And then, of course, hand sanitizer, hand washing, checking patients' temperatures and everything for any evidence or signs of infection. So it is safe. And most pediatric offices you will find have been making these changes, doctors' offices in general, just so that we can continue to see our patients and provide care in a safe environment.
All right. Well, Dr. Thomas, Dr. Moss, thank you both so much for joining us this morning. Really a great conversation, and I'm sure one that helps parents to appreciate what is happening, but also gave us some comfort to know that we seem to be doing pretty well here in Bahamas, and the goal is to keep it that way. So thank you so much again for joining us this morning on Bahamas at Sunrise.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Pleasure.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be back with more after this commercial break.
Since 1967, Focal has been a vital part of the Grand Bahama community, providing high-quality products and great customer service. Today, we continue to work hard and remain focused on fueling growth for people throughout the Bahamas.
One thing, two things, blue thing, all things, things that are small, things that are grand, things that fit just right, and in the palm of your hand. Fox Hill Nursery, a large selection of garden supplies. If you can see it in your mind, you can find it at Fox Hill Nursery.
Business in the Box is your solution for business from Cable Bahamas. It's an internet, voice, mobile, and advertising solution all in one place. Get reliable internet, free domestic call, and a live corporate package, and free TV ad placement, all starting with packages as low as $164 a month. You can save over $3,000 a year. Just call 601-8911. That's 601-8911. And ask for Business in a Box from Cable Bahamas Business Solutions. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. Thank you for staying with us. We're at the halfway point on this pretty marvelous Monday.
Yeah, absolutely. Marvelous indeed. The weather looks great. You know, it's funny. Apparently, the storms that Godfrey was talking about occurred over the weekend. Particularly, was it Saturday night, Sunday morning?
Yeah, that was Saturday night, Sunday morning, around 3 a.m.
Who knew? I was completely.
Well, certainly you slept well, Philip, so you missed it. But for those of us that are pregnant and are struggling to sleep at night, we certainly heard the raging storm and saw the flashes of light and heard the thunder. But no, it was beautiful. I mean, the earth needed it, and I think all of those home gardeners that are really getting into growing their own food during COVID-19 really were happy to have the weather come down this past weekend.
Yeah. Well, we're going to keep our fingers, toes, eyes, everything crossed for this upcoming hurricane season. God knows he has to give us mercy.
I mean, Phil, the fact that there's already been a tropical storm in May, it just adds to the fact that there were killer bees that came out at the end of April, the fact that COVID-19 emerged in January, and now apparently there are rats everywhere giving people hepatitis, and scientists don't know why. So, we're just gonna keep plugging along and taking it one day at a time.
Got it right. But we've got more to go in our second half. We've got he's our official legal counsel, isn't he? Merritt Store, Providence Law, to talk about these emergency powers that are ongoing, at least for another couple of weeks.
Yeah, we're going to talk with him, and then we're looking forward, of course, to more of our Adventures Online series that's really been giving us some things that we could do in our spare time. And so that's going to come up for you as well. But before we get to any of that, we'll find out from Godfrey what the weather looks like this week, especially if you're in those islands that are free to roam about. Here he is, Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First. First in insurance, today, tomorrow.
Thank you, Stern. Good morning, Bahamas. Yes, second look at weather sunrise. We're going to take a look at the tropics because they had the first tropical cyclone of the 2020 tropical cyclone season form over the weekend. We have Tropical Storm Arthur. And at 5 a.m. this morning, Tropical Storm Arthur was located near latitude 33.5 degrees north, longitude 76.6 degrees west, some 135 miles to the south-southwest of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, moving towards the north-northeast at 14 miles per hour. Winds are now sustained at 45 miles per hour. This is going to be above average. We're looking at 16 named storms, 8 becoming hurricanes, 4 becoming intense, and hurricanes being 110 knots or more. The average season calls for 12 named storms, 6 hurricanes, and 2 intense. In weather today, weak surface trough across the northwest Bahamas, trigger off pockets of some showers and isolated thunderstorms from time to time during the daytime. So for the most part, a nice day, but you can have some showers and possible thunderstorms, mainly during the afternoon hours. In your marine forecast, those winds today south to southwest at 10 to 15 knots, 2 to 4 feet over the northwest and central Bahamas, southerly at 10 knots or less, seas less than 3 feet over the southeastern islands. Tuesday, those winds continue south to southwest at 10 to 15 knots, 2 to 4 feet over the northwest and central Bahamas, southerly at 10 to 15 knots, 2 to 4 feet over the southeastern islands. Then on Wednesday, continues south to southwest at 10 to 15 knots, 2 to 4 feet in the northwest and central Bahamas, southeast to south at 10 to 15 knots, 2 to 4 feet over the southeastern islands. Yeah, tides. You can expect a low tide at 11:56 this morning. Next high tide will be at 6:12 this evening. Low again tomorrow morning at 29 minutes past midnight. Sunset 7:49 this evening. Rises more at 6:24. UV index 8. Your water temperature 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Any moon phase now moving towards a new moon. Extended look. Weak frontal boundary will move near the Grand Bahama area on tomorrow, and that will trigger off pockets of showers and thunderstorms along with some rich tropical moisture, so we can see some showers and thunderstorms over the next couple of days, and those temperatures daytime will be near the 90-degree mark, at nighttime in the upper 70s. That puts you up in your phone. Look at weather at sunrise. I'm Godfrey Burnside. Bahamas and Sunrise will be back after this short commercial break.
Nourish your immune system. Nourish your health. Nourish your life with Ensure. Ensure Original, Ensure Plus, and Ensure Max Protein.
Do you want to know more about the scriptures, the early Christian church, its teachings, suffering, other religions, the authenticity of the Bible? The Anglican Theological Institute is for you. Enroll in a 3-year certificate program. Classes are conducted from NASA and Freeport on Saturday mornings. Don't miss a class. Stay connected anytime, anywhere, with high-speed internet. Contact us at 603-2481. Visit our Facebook page. Pick up an application form at any Anglican church or at Addington House on Sands Road. The Anglican Theological Institute is for you.
He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Sun Oil, caring, invested, committed.
Welcome back. Parliament last met on Monday, the 27th of April. At that time, it approved a resolution extending emergency powers in the Bahamas, originally rising from a proclamation of the Governor General made on March 17, 2020, until the 30th of May, 2020, due to the COVID-19 global pandemic. The emergency power orders continues and are in effect. Here to discuss this with us is Merritt Stowe, Managing Partner of Providence Law. Merritt, good morning. Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Thank you. Good morning, Phil. How are you?
Wonderful, man. It looks like you're sitting in a real library there.
Yeah, it's a background.
Oh, boy. So listen, what were the reasons given by the Prime Minister in Parliament on the 27th of April for the extension of the emergency powers? Let's start there.
Right. Well, it was thought at that time that there was still a risk of community spread, and so the extension of the orders was intended to limit that. It was also thought that it was in the best interests of health and safety of the general community. And then ironically, he also said that it was for the quick restoration of the economy. And I guess in the short run, obviously you're damaging the economy.
Right.
But I guess the thought was that if we get this fixed, then we can reopen the economy properly. So those were the reasons given at that time, and the resolution was passed by Parliament.
Well, it's okay. It seems as though there has been some positive results as a result of those measures. But what have been the key measures used to reduce the spread? You would say.
Well, I must tell you, all the terminology now is common in our vernacular. Introduction of curfews, weekend lockdowns, social distancing measures, wearing masks. These are all measures that were introduced to contain the virus. In fairness to the authorities, I think there has been some degree of success. We haven't had any deaths in the last several weeks. Even though we've had additional cases, they've been going up kind of one here, one there. And hospitalizations seem to be controlled. So I think there's been some degree of success, but those are the measures that were introduced as a result of the extension of the emergency order.
Yeah, of course, you mentioned it, quarantine, curfews, lockdowns. And
Yes.
of course, these can only go so far as the populace respects it. Of course, a respecting measure is penalties for those who would break quarantine as outlined in the emergency order. What exactly is that penalty? I haven't really heard anybody truly being...
I was thinking about that. The penalty was increased during that session of Parliament as well. It's a $20,000, up to a $20,000 fine and up to 5 years imprisonment. I haven't heard anybody who has had that degree of severe penalty thrown against them, but those are the penalties that are available. I think for the most part, maybe most people I think have been observing the curfews and lockdowns. Of course, there are people who challenge it, and there have been some people charged, but I haven't heard anybody who has had the harshest penalties applied against them yet.
Yeah. I don't think I think for the most part as a nation, we've been pretty compliant. Yesterday, the Prime Minister, of course, had a national address. The government has shared a phased plan for the reopening of the economy. Yesterday, it seems as though we're still in 1B, headed towards 2. I'm not quite sure. Maybe you can break it for me.
It's interesting. I mean, there are elements of phase 2 that were introduced with his presentation. Clearly, the expanding of economic activity in the Family Islands is one of the elements of phase 2. Further expansion of curbside services, some businesses being able to operate on more extended hours, pharmacies are now 9 to 5, etc. So there were a lot of elements of phase 2, but he didn't outright declare phase 2. I think one of the elements of phase 2 is that I believe that churches would have been allowed to operate with some degree of social distancing. So clearly, he wasn't ready to say that. So I guess phase 2 is not fully in effect, but a lot of the elements of phase 2 are in effect.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, as a part of that speech, it seems as though we're looking towards the July 1st opening for aspects of the travel industry. But again, as previously stated, the existing emergency orders remain in place until the 30th, until the end of this month. Should we expect any further relaxation between now and then? And what will Parliament have to do in order before that order expires?
Well, if we take the Prime Minister at his word, he has indicated that should the success that we've been experiencing continue, that there should be further relaxation. So I would expect that during the course of this week, or maybe again next Sunday, that there should be some further relaxation unless we have a spike in cases. Barring that, Parliament goes back into session on the 27th of May. At that time, normally there's a new budget that's presented, but we expect that there needs to be some decision made about whether there's going to be an extension of the current emergency powers because they expire on the 30th of May, or whether there'll be some relaxation of it, etc. So it'll be, the next 2 weeks are going to be critical for us to see what's going to happen during the month of June.
Well, definitely. I mean, when you think about these phases, you have phase 1A, phase 1B, 2, 3, and 4. I mean, we don't expect, well, maybe we do expect all of those to kind of, those phases to advance over the next 2 or 3 weeks. Gaming house operators, that was certainly in the news last week, and yeah, their cry. But they are taking this denial pretty seriously of their ability to offer curbside service like others. Do they have a case? I mean, by law?
Well, let's put it this way. Let's start on the face of it. It does seem as if they're being treated differently than other businesses that have the ability to offer curbside service. I guess the real question is whether the competent authority has the discretion or the absolute authority to determine who is allowed to operate and who isn't. And does there have to be any rationality in terms of the decisions of the competent authority? I haven't researched it, so I'm not sure what the answer to that is, but I can tell you that under ordinary rules of judicial review, you can carry the government to court and make sure that their decisions are rational and that you're being treated fairly. So I guess the test will be whether the competent authority has to be in compliance with these particular rules, and we'll see.
Yeah, yeah. What are your expectations, Merritt, over the next several weeks with regards to all of this?
I think there's going to be further relaxation. I think the government is being very, very cautious. I think that we could have relaxed it further yesterday, maybe the full phase 2. I don't even think phase 3 is out of the question, but obviously they're taking a very cautious approach. And so I would be hopeful that if things continue, that certainly by another week, we should be in phase 3. Of course, I'm not the competent authority, and I'm only guessing like the rest of us.
Yeah, I tell you what, the competent authority will rest on their decisions, no doubt about that. No doubt about that. Mayor, thank you once again for joining us here on Bahamas at Sunrise.
Pleasure. Okay, Phil, take care.
All right, we've been Merritt Store Managing Partner, Providence Law. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Since 1967, Focal has been a vital part of the Grand Bahama community, providing high-quality products and great customer service. Today, we continue to work hard and remain focused on fueling growth for people throughout the Bahamas.
Business in the Box is your solution for business from Cable Bahamas. It's an internet, voice, mobile, and advertising solution all in one place. Get reliable internet, free domestic call, and a live corporate package, and free TV ad placement, all starting with packages as low as $164 a month. You can save over $3,000 a year. Just call 601-8911. That's 601-8911. And ask for Business in a Box from Cable Bahamas Business Solutions. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. Thank you for staying with us. It's certainly time for the kids to take a break, but we, of course, especially here in New Providence and in Grand Bahama, are still on lockdown, and the flights are, of course, still grounded for now. So we've got another option in our Adventure Online series segment today, virtual field trips. They are fun for the whole family to enjoy, and here we have that segment for you now.
So the kids are probably all getting cabin fever at this point of the lockdown. So how about we do some virtual field trips? Today on Adventures Online, we are going to visit 4 websites that offer wonderful virtual tours for the kids. First, head over to the San Diego Zoo at kids.sandiegozoo.org. Here you can watch live feeds of animals like Madagascar penguins, giraffes playing in the African plains habitat, and koala Joey from Australia. Go over to the story section and learn more about animals living at the zoo. Did you know that koalas are born the size of jelly beans? Take your time and explore all the animals featured. Another fun section on this site is games. Challenge your kids to a game of living legends. Next, take a trip to America's oldest national park, Yellowstone, which covers some 3,500 miles of Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho. I know you're going to love this because I have visited and camped at Yellowstone, and it is amazing. Go ahead and gaze at the Yellowstone Grand Canyon from Lookout Point. Experience the paint pots. Of course, you have got to see Old Faithful Gush. And enjoy the bliss of nature at first light. Marvel at the first steps of a baby bison calf. Journey through the many photos, videos, maps, and articles to learn about the rich heritage of Yellowstone National Park. Then hop on over to the tundra at discoveryeducation.com and see what life is like for polar bears. Journey alongside Ursula as she raises her cubs in the wild.
Around Christmas, she did indeed give birth to at least 2 cubs. In March, she and her cubs emerged from the den. I couldn't help but feel excited at the thought of those adorable little polar bears exploring the world for the very first time.
This website has lots of fun virtual field trips. Learn how to unleash your inner scientist. Check out the cars of the future, or explore the world of agriculture. This site is designed with educators in mind and is packed with fabulous learning resources. Finally, travel the galaxies with a click of your mouse at Stellarium. Stellarium is an open source free software planetarium that can be used to learn about the night sky and is an observational aid for amateur astronomers. I decided I would go and explore Mars, the 4th planet from the Sun, the 2nd smallest planet in the solar system, which is often referred to as the red planet. Then I decided to take a nice slow orbit around the moon. Did you know that the moon is Earth's only natural satellite and that it is 30 times the diameter of Earth? Of course, I had to check on the constellations. Hydra is the largest of the 88 modern constellations. Pisces is located in the northern celestial hemisphere, and Sagittarius is the archer and is best viewed in the summer months. What's exciting is once you create a free account on Stellarium, you can log all your outer space treks. And be sure to check the calendar for upcoming celestial events. So now you have a few great resources to explore our world or others depending on how you feel. So go and have a grand adventure online. For Bahamas at Sunrise, this is Suzette Parker.
Do you want to know more about the scriptures, the early Christian church, its teachings, suffering, other religions, the authenticity of the Bible? The Anglican Theological Institute is for you. Enroll in a 3-year certificate program. Classes are conducted from Nassau and Freeport on Saturday mornings. Don't miss a class. Stay connected anytime, anywhere, with high-speed internet. Contact us at 603-2481. Visit our Facebook page. Pick up an application form at any Anglican church or at Addington House on Sands Road. The Anglican Theological Institute is for you.
He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Sun Oil, caring, invested, committed.
We are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me 'cause I can count on you.
Nourish your immune system. Nourish your health. Nourish your life with Ensure. Ensure Original, Ensure Plus, and Ensure Max Protein.
Well, thank you again for watching us this morning here on Bahamas at Sunrise. We hope that you enjoyed the show and that you're looking forward to a good week, no matter what that week may hold or how it may look in comparison to weeks gone by. We hope that you'll make it a great one.
Absolutely. And don't forget to register for the Eleuthera Business Outlook, tclevents.com. Is that correct, Star?
That is correct. Of course, that is actually free this time, but there's only a fee, so we want to encourage you to get registered as soon as possible. awesome information that's going to be shared there about life post-COVID-19. Thanks again for joining us.
Have a wonderful week.